Yes, I've.
Thank you.
Yes, so last time where we stopped was A and I. So we are now left with only three or four more vowels basically. And after that, we will start with the consonants, the Vyanjan. So the next one after A and I, we have in the Varnamala, O. This is O in Devanagari lipi. For this, we draw the Shirorika first. So this is somewhat similar to Om that we have learned in the first lesson. So the shape is exactly the same. This is O. Now here the extension of the Shiroreka, it can be on the both the sides, or you might want to just shorten this length of the Shiroreka, but make sure that the Shiroreka on the top is not very long. So this much what I have drawn here is okay. Try not to extend the Shiroreka beyond this point. So this won't look okay. Although there is nothing wrong and right in that, but then avoid making such long Shiroreka. So this is O. I will draw it one more time. First draw the Shiroreka. Then you can leave some Shiroreka behind on the right hand side and then draw the shape like this. Take it all the way up, touch it to the Shiroreka, and at the same point, without moving your pen, just draw the line, this vertical stroke like this. So this is O. Now I'm doing it with a normal round tip. Make sure the gap is not there on the top. See, if you see this stroke that goes up, the same stroke comes down. So there is no gap left here. What I mean is, this should not look like this. Okay, so it's in continuity. You do not move your pen or you do not lift your hand while drawing the letter. So keep the same loop coming down also. This is O. And both the points, this one and this vertical stroke, they're all ending at the same point. No stroke is longer or shorter. Both are of the same size. Now moving to the next one is ow. The first one that we did is O say Oakley. Now this is ow. Ow say Aurat. So someone had suggested last time that while we write the letters, we also try to give some examples also. So for people who are not very well versed with Devanagari lipi, they get an understanding of the pronunciation also and the letters also. So this is ow, aurat. So now here the first few strokes are same. First we draw the Shiroreka. Now here we need a little longer Shiroreka as compared to what we have on the top. From the right hand side of the Shiroreka, leaving a little more space here, I'm drawing this stroke. This remains the same. The vertical stroke here, same as we did above. Now here, at the end of the Shiroreka, here, we draw a small loop. So this becomes ow. So this shape I had already told in the last class also that these shapes are very frequently used in Sharda Lipi. We did it for Re also, and here also we use the same kind of a shape. So these shapes are in the consonants and other rules. When we learn, you will see that this shape is very frequently used. So I'm going to draw it again. First extend the Shirorika from the right hand side. Now at the end here, we draw this loop. So this loop is basically, it's not a triangle. It's an oblong shape like this. But obviously shorter than this, what I have drawn here. This is just to show you how the shape looks like, but it should be very small at the end here. It should not be covering half of the letter like this. Okay. So when you're drawing this, this should be of a very small size. So I'm drawing it with a normal round tip as well. This is ow. Now we have the anuswaras. The first one is the Chandra Bindu. The sound is ang. Ang se angur. So this is the anuswara. To draw this, we draw the first. Cover the letter entirely with the Shirorika. Now on top of this Chandra Bindu. So in Sharda Lipi, the Chandra Bindu is always written inverted. So that you must have already seen in Om, and the Bindu in the center. This one I'll draw with the normal non-calligraphic brush as well. And then the Bindu, Chandra Bindu on the top, inverted, and the Bindu in the center. Make sure that the Chandra Bindu that you draw is not too big or too wide. So if you see this, this is coinciding with this, the entire letter here, and not covering the entire Shirorika. It's not drawn like this. So make sure you avoid doing that and keep it in the center only. Now this is with the just only the Bindu on the top. So usually this Bindu is written where we have the sound of half na. I'll draw it with a non-calligraphic brush. Because the basic shape is almost, it's similar to that we have already done. That's why I'm repeating it only twice instead of doing it thrice. and the Bindu on the top, exactly on the center of the Shirorika. And the last one that we have now is the Visarga. So I'm going to write it here. These two dots. The basic shape again remains the same.
Excuse me, what is the pronunciation of this letter in Hindi?
This is aha. This is the Visarga.
Aha, aha.
Like we use this Visarga at the end of, like, for the words like Namha. So this is just the two dots behind the letter. This is aha. And with this, we complete the vowels. Now, after this, we'll be moving to the Vyanjan. And we'll take the revision of whatever we've learned at the end of the class. So is it okay if I move ahead and start with the consonants now?
Ma'am, the pronunciations once more, please, for each of these letters.
Yes, so the first one that we did was O. O say Oakley, Ow say Aurat. Then we have the Visarg, the Anuswaras, Ang, Angur. This is where we have the half sound of N or M, Ant, and the Bindu on top. Then the last one, Visarga, we have the words like Namha, Prayah. Is that clear now?
Ma'am, the last but one.
Okay, that is this and Bindu on the top, right? So this is where we have the sounds like, for example, the half N or half M, for example, Ant.
Okay, got it.
In ow, the circle that you have made at the end of should it touch or should it be away from it? Because in the second one, it's away.
It should be very close to this line that we have drawn. There should not be any gap left in between.
Can you please draw it once again?
Yeah, sure. I will do that. It's very close to where this shape is starting. This slant stroke is starting. It's just touching that slant on with the Shirorika. I'm not leaving any gap in between. There shouldn't be any gap. Is it visible clearly? I'll zoom it a little bit here.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So let us move to consonants now. The first one we have is the kavarg, kakha, gagha, and na, the nasal na. This is ka in Devanagari. For Sharada, we draw the Shirorika first, then the vertical stroke, and while drawing this particular letter, make sure that the vertical stroke here that we are drawing is extended a little bit longer. Then we have this loop here and the second loop here. So both these loops are of the same size and shape. Now the only thing here is that this vertical stroke has to be a little longer. As you see in Devanagari, we have this vertical stroke a little shorter. And if you see here, this we have drawn a little longer. That will explain when we move to the next work, that why do we extend this particular stroke here. I'm going to draw it one more time.
Ma'am, one question I have. This curve that you're doing on either side of the vertical line, it doesn't converge at one point, right?
No, they are both at the converging at a single point only.
नहीं, जैसे ये दिख रहा है, जैसे लेफ्ट वाला कर्व है, तो दो जगह मीट कर रहा है वर्टिकल लाइन को. It's not that it's meeting at one point. You getting my? I'm not sure. I'm able
You
to
mean
make
to
my
say
guess.
that it's not? Okay, let me just try. You mean to say it's not converging like this?
Correct, correct.
Like this. This is what you mean, that it's not converging here at the same point. So, okay. So let me draw it again here. If I got the question right, what you mean is that these two loops, one loop is, yes, it's ending here. Then the other loop here is meeting here. Yes, they are not, there is no central point as such.
Correct, correct.
This is how they are written. Okay, so this is K. Let me draw it with the non-calligraphic brush as well. K. Now the next one is K. In this case, we have a Shirorika. Then on the left of the Shirorika, we draw a vertical stroke. And leaving a little gap in between. This is K.
Excuse me, this vertical stroke should be longer, like
No, this can be, this has to be normal. You don't have to extend it a little more like how we did in case of K. They both should be of the same size. This line and this vertical stroke, they should end at the same point. So no need to keep this longer here in this case.
okay.
Here, but make sure that you leave the gap between this vertical stroke and this shape. There should be enough gap left in between. Curve.
There's no bottom line in that curve, right?
No, it's not a bottom line.
Okay,
I just, this is how I just wanted to explain that where the lines are ending. So this is not a stroke or anything. It's just to explain. This is the shape that you follow. They should both be at the same, ending at the same point. Again, these two dots are just to explain. Moving on to next, G. So this is Devanagari G. Sharda G is almost similar to Devanagari G. Not much of a difference here. The only thing is here in case of G, in Sharda, the triangle, this is always a triangle, and we do not make it in Devanagari. Usually we keep this shape round also, and we sometimes make a triangle. So there are always variations in writing G in Devanagari lipi. But in Sharda, this shape at the bottom is always a triangle, a sharp angle triangle.
It
Like
is a right angle triangle.
yes, it's a right angle triangle here.
And this second stroke is longer.
The second stroke is longer as compared to this first one, where we draw the triangle at the bottom. The second one has to be a little longer.
Okay, okay.
Go. Now the next one we have is Deep Swar, that is Gha. And for this letter, this is the first loop, then the second loop, then a vertical stroke. And this particular letter doesn't have a Shirorika. So now going forward, whenever we are, whatever letters we are learning, make a note at the end of every varg, which all letters have Shiroreka and which do not have, because there are some rule based on that, on the Shiroreka and the letters without the Shiroreka. So keep making notes, like whatever letters that we learned today, and out of those, how many have Shiroreka, and the
This
letters without
vertical
the
line has to be longer here also.
a little longer, yes. I mean, not like this. We do not keep it very short like
It
this.
should be half.
Not like this. So this is too short. So just extend a little bit.
But those two, the Shiroreka, if we had to put a Shiroreka on top of it, the extension is in a straight line for both the angles.
There is no Shiroreka for this letter.
No,
We
no,
did
there is no
not draw
Shiroreka. But if there was one, imaginary one, so that will be a straight line at the top in the same alignment, right?
Yes, the middle loop, the middle curve here, it's a little shorter as compared to
Oh,
these
is it?
two.
Oh, okay.
See,
Okay.
this is little shorter,
Middle one is little shorter.
not very short. So I'm drawing it again one more time. But the loops have to be of the same size.
Okay.
Go. Okay, now moving on to the last one from this word, that is no.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Tani.
Sorry, ma'am, but I didn't understand what long means. The last line should be longer than the Shiroreka. I mean, if we draw a Shirorika in this, then the last line should be longer, a little longer than that. It should go up.
No, these both the lines, this line and this line are of the same length. These are not shorter or longer. This one and this one are of the same height.
That is what. Okay.
See, the middle
This should be
middle
a
one
four.
is also almost of the same length. If you see, it is just because that we are using the calligraphic pen, so this line seems a little shorter. So it's not coinciding with the Shirorika.
Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, this letter which you have drawn third time, the central loop is on the top. It should be little below.
As I mentioned earlier, that this is, see, I'll explain it again here.
You draw once more.
It doesn't have to be very small. It is just that, you know why? Because this is appearing shorter because we are using a calligraphic pen and there are angles and, you know, they are cut at certain degree. So they appear a little shorter. They do not have to, we do not draw her like this. We cannot keep the middle loop very small like this. So
Yes.
this has to be somewhat smaller as compared to these two, but
Yes.
not very small as well.
Yes,
So,
okay, got it, got it.
please remember this letter doesn't have a Shirorika. Since I have drawn Shirorika many a time, so it might be a little confusing. This particular letter is drawn without the Shirorika.
So literally, G is the first consonant which doesn't have a Shirorika.
Yes. And we have one in vowels also.
E.
So this is na, this is the nasal na used in the words like Ganga. So that na, nasal na is this. From the left of the Shirorika, we start this vertical stroke. Then we curl it here. Extend this line like this. And very close to the Shirorika, where the Shirorika is ending at the right hand side, very close to it, we draw a very small sharp angle triangle like this. I'll explain it one more time. First the vertical stroke, then we curl it like around here. Then the extension of this line like this. And towards the end of the Shirorika, a small triangle here. Now, while drawing this triangle, keep it very narrow. Do not make it like this. There is a reason behind that. Why we don't extend this? Why don't we make this triangle wider? So try to keep it very narrow, like this. But make sure that it is angled here, very sharp angle triangle. This is how we draw it, and it should be very close to Shirorika at the end. I mean, do not extend the Shirorika beyond this point. So this is where the Shirorika should end, very close to it.
Excuse me, in the first letter, drawn letter of na and second drawn letter of na, there is space.
Which letter are you referring to, sir?
I am referring this na, which you are drawing right now.
Yes.
The first letter and second letter has a gap in between the O which we are making.
Okay. Yes, there is a gap. This is not an O. This is just a shape.
No,
How we draw it.
First shape.
The
This
first
shape.
shape. So there has to be a gap, like how I've drawn it here. There is a gap.
You draw it just now. Yes. And then there is. Okay. Okay.
So there is a visible gap here. You can see that.
And how far do you take this line below after making that round shape?
I mean, this is enough. That whatever I've drawn here is enough. You do not have to keep it very short. Also, you do not have to keep it very long. Also, just a normal. If you're writing it in a 2-line notebook, it should cover the entire space in between. Don't keep it very short also, and do not extend it beyond this point as well. You cannot make it like this. So this is no. K, kh,
Can
g, gh, and no.
I add a point, not a point, just for the pronunciation bit, if I could add.
Yes, Nidhi was saying something.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add here for the pronunciation of the anunasik of the ka verb, according to Sanskrit rule, it is read as ung. So, you touch your tongue towards the inside of your palate a little bit. The way Veronica ji correctly mentioned Ganga. So if you pronounce Ganga, so this is the Anunasik of Ka Varg and the pronunciation is Anga. So just in case, because we were talking about pronunciation the last session and this session as well. So just wanted to add that point according to the Sanskrit rules.
Thank you, Nidhi. Any more questions regarding this work, or anything regarding the pronunciation of any letter, or else we can move ahead. Okay. The next we have is cha varg. So this is the first one from cha varg, cha. From the left of the Shirorika, we start this. We curl this similar to what we did in the last letter. Now here, this is a slant here. It's not a straight line. It doesn't go straight. I'll draw it one more time. We start from the left of the Shirorika, this vertical stroke. Then we draw this round here. This is a round shape basically. Then we draw this slant line here. And then when we reach this point, we take it further up. Now this line, few points to remember here, this is a slant. Here, where we are joining this one more vertical stroke here, it's a round shape. It's not a triangle, like it's not a sharp angled triangle. It's not like this. So try to avoid making this shape. It has to be a soft curve at the edge. I'm drawing it one more time, round. And then it touches the Shirorika here at the end. Around, take it up like this. This is cha. Any questions here in this particular shape?
Line, the vertical line should be of the same size, or that is of cha. Devangari secret.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting your question.
The Devangari cha, the vertical line should be of the same size. What is it in this lipi, Sharda lipi? It should not be more.
No, the line has to be like this.
Acha, theek hai. It should not be.
Yeah, it should be covering the entire letter. So the purpose is to cover the entire letter.
Got it, got it.
Then we have next one, ch. From the middle of the Shirorika, we draw this vertical stroke here. Now the two loops, similar to what we did in case of ka. Now here you will see the shape is almost what we saw in ka, the two loops. Now the only difference here is that we do not draw the vertical line below like this. So that was the reason that we told you to keep the line a little longer. In case of ka, I asked you to keep the line a little longer. So this was the case because in cha, the shape is almost similar. Only the vertical stroke is not there at the bottom. So if you keep the line shorter in case of ka as well, for example, you're drawing letter ka and you keep the line little shorter, so it might appear to be cha. That's why the reason that we extend the this particular line, the middle line, a little longer in case of ka, to avoid the confusion. I'm drawing it one more time. This line has to be stretched a little bit. Then from here, we draw these loops. Both the loops are of the same size. So they are all meeting at the same point here, if you see. Sure. Now the next one is ja. Draw the Shirorika first. From the left of the Shirorika, this stroke. Then we have a round here. See, up till here, the shape is similar to what we did in case of no, in ka varg, the last letter. So till here, the shape is almost similar, right? Now from here, after extending this particular line, we draw a curl like this here at the end. And in case of a triangle, instead of the triangle at the end, we have these two vertical parallel lines. This is ja. And in case of na, we had that triangle very close to the Shirorika like this. But in this case, ja, this Shirorika is little more extended after these two lines, if you see here. So there is the extension a little, the line goes a little further. Unlike what we had in the last letter, no. So let me draw it again. From the left, we start this round slant line, then we curl it up like this, and we draw these two parallel lines, and there is the extension of the Shirorika a little bit more. This is how it is going to look like with a normal round tip. This is J. And make sure that these two parallel lines are of the same length. And this extension is whatever you're extending, this curling up of the line at the bottom, it should be within the Shirorika. It should not go and extend and go beyond the Shirorika. So keep it within the Shirorika. It should, the entire letter should be within the frame of the Shirorika. I'm going to just draw some imaginary lines here just to show how it fits in the frame. Like this. The next one we have is J. From the left, again, we start from the left of the Shirorika. Extend this line. At the bottom, we draw this triangle. This is a right angle triangle at the bottom. Now from the right hand side of the Shirorika, we draw this loop. First, we have this stroke where we have a triangle at the bottom. Then from the right hand side of the Shirorika, we have this shape that touches the other end of the letter. So this shape that I'm drawing here is comparatively bigger to what we have seen in the previous letters. For example, in case of Au, we saw that the shape was very small like this, but in this case, this is a wider shape. This is a little wider and it's touching exactly where this line is ending. There is no gap in between. So basically, this is a semicircular kind of a shape. It might appear to you as an, the loop is more towards the right hand side, but it's a semicircular shape here.
So is it more like a with a triangle, right angle triangle?
It's a right angle triangle here, yes. And this is a semicircle kind of a shape here.
So the shape is basically with the right angle triangle, like shape of shape of A, sorry.
The A is more like this, the dip is more towards the right hand side. A is more like this. This is a little lesser. It's more rounded.
Okay.
Like this. More rounded and more longer than what we have in A. You can draw it like this also, but make sure that it is wide enough. And it's touching this point exactly where the other shape is there. There is no gap left in between. This is J. The last one from this work, Ch work, is Nya. The sound is near. Start from the left of the Shirorika, a straight vertical line, then leaving some gap in between. From the other end, this line has to be a little shorter, just a symbolic stroke here. Then here we make a round and then extend this shape like this. And both these, this particular stroke and this stroke, are ending at the same line. Let me draw it one more time. First, towards the left, we draw this vertical stroke, then some gap in between, then this round here, then we extend it exactly where this vertical stroke is ending. We stop it here. This is near. I'm drawing it with a round tip as well. I'm not making this line very long. If you see here, it's not very long like this. So keep it a little shorter. So this shape is round, what you see here. This is round. You don't have to fill it up. It is just a round that we draw to make this shape. With this, we complete the cha varg as well. And we will do the revision of whatever we did today. Before that, if you have any questions, please go ahead. Nidhi ji, if you want to add anything, please go ahead.
No, nothing to add as such. If you could just read out the words with all the letters for everyone's benefit.
Sure. So this is cha. Cha se chammach, cha se chhata, ja jahaz, jha jhanda, nya. We don't have any word as such starting
Vyanjan.
from nya.
Not starting with Vyanjan, we will use it.
So
Maybe
sorry, I
G?
didn't get you.
There are rules for the usage of anunasics. They are very extended rules. So in case, you do want to pursue Sanskrit later, because it's somehow, we all have felt at one point in time that once we read Sharda, how close it is to Sanskrit. So, we actually have, almost 80% of us who have learned Sharda are actually pursuing Sanskrit now and reading or learning those rules. But just to point out that these are anunasics and usage depends on the varg. So I would not get into the details. It does not have a word as such starting with the anunasik, but it would come at the end of a letter, end of a word, or in middle of a word, but generally at the end of the word. And again, it depends on certain rules. So there is no word as such. It's just the anunasik of the cha varg that we have to remember. Nya.
Yeah. So every verb basically has this anunasik, cha, ka, cha. Then all the work that we are going to learn in future, they all have an anunasik, and then it depends, like how Nidhi ji has put it, it depends on the usage, what word are you using. According to that, we use the anunasik with that. So that it'll come in the advanced classes where we learn Sanskrit along with the Sharda lipi, or where we learn the manuscripts. So there these anunasik and these voice sounds are more used. Okay, so this was cha varg. So we will do the revision now. To start with, we started from, I think, O today. Yes, O. then ow,
Hey, can you please, I'm sorry, good morning. Can you please help me to draw this AU? The last thing after that you have drawn, how we draw it with the round
yes, this
pen,
shape, I'm
round tip
going to
pen.
draw
Yeah.
it one more time. So this is the shape actually.
It's something like U, right?
Yes, something like you, or you might see some variations also. So I'm showing another variation of doing it, like how I did in case of re. So this line is a little slanted. So this is one shape that's U, wider U, a little wider U. And the other way of doing it is like this line is a little slant on the left hand side. So both ways are correct. You will find a lot of both these variations while which are used while writing out.
Okay, thank you.
You can make note of
And
the shapes.
and ma'am, one more thing. First O. In O, the line.
Yes, here also you will see some variations. This here, if you see, I have not extended the line on the side
Yes.
here.
So
That is also all right. And if you do not extend the line on the right hand side in case of O, that is also correct.
okay. Yes.
This is also all right. Without the extension towards the right hand side is also okay.
Veronica ji, there's a request that students are making that can we see the letters how to write in double line or 3-line paper? That will give us an idea of the proportion.
Sure. So what I'll do is I will try to draw lines on the top of this. Let me use some other color.
Whilst you're drawing this, Veronica ji, I also was thinking in case somebody requires, we can also share the worksheets we had designed earlier. It may help some. So
yes, actually, yes, Nidhi ji, we have some sheets, so we can share them. Those worksheets.
There are worksheets. In case somebody wants to take a printout and write on those worksheets, more than welcome. In case somebody wants to use it just as a reference, that's also okay. So we have some worksheets prepared for the letters. We'll share those. So it'll give you a clear idea.
Yeah, I think we'll do that. That would be easier for you to understand the shape and the size. So still here, I think I'll just draw the line. So if you're writing it on a 3-line notebook, this is how you'll fit O. Same goes for this letter as well. So in this case, usually we try to fit this particular letter in within the 3 lines, but this round, it might extend a little bit beyond the line. Although this particular line that we are drawing, this vertical stroke, this should not go beyond the 3rd line, but this loop at the end that we are drawing, it might cross the 3rd line, but not the line, but not the vertical stroke here.
Ma'am, in this the Shirorika is to be drawn afterwards or first, like we do it in
No, there is no such rule, but we usually start with the Shirorika first. But even if you don't want to, you just start like this. So there is no rule as such which shape to be drawn first or later. You can do it towards the end also, or you can do it in the beginning as well.
Okay.
Okay, so here I forgot to draw the Chandra Bindu on the top. So for the next Anuswara, I'm just writing the Devanagari, sorry, the Sharda version. So this is one with the Bindu on top, words which have half sound of half n and half m. And the last one is the Visarg. So for these, I'm only drawing the Sharda equivalent. And aha. Now moving on to consonants. K, if you're writing in a 3-line notebook, in this case, make sure that this line, particular vertical stroke, is crossing the 3rd line. As I mentioned earlier, this has to be a little longer. Most of the letters usually they fit within the 3-line. G.
Can you please tell Kha once again?
Okay, I'll write K one more time here. I will overwrite on the same one. This is the vertical stroke. Let me draw the Shirorika first. Then on the left hand side, the Shirorika, leaving a gap in between. Then we draw this shape here. Okay, so now G. We have a triangle, a right angle triangle at the bottom here. Then some gap, and then we draw the vertical stroke, which is a little longer as compared to the first one. So basically this ends within the 3 lines. It doesn't go beyond. It just, as I mentioned earlier, because we are using the calligraphic brush, so there are some angles and some, the tips are sometimes longer and shorter. If you are using a round tip, then it will fit within the 3 lines. Gha. So even if these 2 lines, these 2 loops, they are extending a little bit outside of the middle line, that's also okay. No problem with that. The last one from this work, no. very close to the Shirorika, a very narrow triangle here. Do not keep this triangle wider. Here the line, this slant line can go a little further away from the third line. Do not worry about this line. Even if it's longer, that's fine. So here I'm going to start with the next one, chair work. Sure. Make sure that this line is little away from the Shirorika and the loops are also little away from the Shirorika and not very close to it. Now both these are ending at the same point. The intersection is here in the center. I forgot to draw the lines, so I'll do it. Two parallel lines and then extension of the Shirorika from the right hand side. Here in this case, this particular curve, it can go beyond the third line like this. Right angle triangle at the bottom. Then from the right hand side, we draw this loop. Now the last one, near. Vertical stroke, little gap, then an indicative stroke here, then round, and this. So these are two curve work and chair work that we completed today. We will also send the worksheets that Nidhi just mentioned, where you get the sense of the size of each stroke and the curves. So it'll be easier for you to understand the length of each curve. So I think we can end this session here.
Before we end the session, we would just, if you could remind everyone for tomorrow's book launch.
Yes, so we have this launch of the primer tomorrow. So this is one of the first of its kind Kashmiri primer, which is written in Sharada lipi. So it basically teaches how to write Kashmiri in Sharada lipi with the usage of the extra vowels that we use while speaking and while writing Kashmiri language. So this launch will start at 6:30. So we all will share the event details with you in the group. You can all join us on FP Live, Core Sharda Team's Facebook page. Anything else, Nidhi to add?
No, that's all.
We can conclude with Shanti Mantra, Veronica ji.
Yes,
Yeah.
please go ahead, Nirupama ji.
Om Sehno Bhaktu Sehno. I'm reading the another one. Wait. Om Sehna Bhavtu Sehno Panaktu Sehviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinaditumastu Ma Vidishavahe.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow for the book launch. Thank you, Nidhi ji. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
And ma'am, one more thing, ma'am. I had ordered for books, but I didn't got them. I think it's 1 month back I had ordered the books.
Rajni ji, I have written to you, and I'll get back to you on a personal window regarding that.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.